So this is usually the bit in the video where I ask you some sort of question like, are you familiar with this feeling? Do you do this? But today I'm hoping that you won't actually relate to the main part of this video, which is the fact that I almost died. So hopefully most of you have not had a genuine near-death experience. But how this is going to relate to you is that I'm going to tell you about how I was living beforehand, which maybe a lot of you would relate to, and then how this near-death experience has changed me into how I'm living now. So let's get the curiosity bit out the way. What happened? Essentially, I've had a load of pretty major surgeries in my time, and the most recent one of which led to some complications, which led to internal bleeding, which wasn't picked up. I was given medication which only suppressed the symptoms of that and didn't do anything at all to help the problem. So cut to a little bit later and my pain just skyrockets with a click of her fingers. And I'd been about to go to bed, but I couldn't go to bed because I realised I couldn't actually breathe and my heart was pounding. So middle of the night, I'm going to hospital. In the meantime, I'm convulsing and I feel like my bladder's going to explode, which it wasn't actually, it was something else. But within 20 minutes or so, thankfully, the fantastic staff at the hospital had stopped my convulsions, and then this registrar comes and talks to me and said, Mr. Evans, she puts on this super serious voice and goes, Mr. Evans, you're actually really, really sick. And I think classic ADHD, in as much as I'm fantastic in a crisis, and I'm like, well, are you going to fix it? He said, well, we're going to try. Cool. And she said to me, do you know what sepsis is? And I said, yeah, I'm aware, yeah. And she said the threshold to count as septic is 2 when they're measuring lactate. And she said, you're about 7.2, which was a little bit sobering. And she said, we couldn't actually measure your heart rate because it was too high, which personally I didn't realise was a thing. I thought if it got that high you were just dead, but thankfully not. So that's what happened. They sent me into surgery for what they thought would be about an hour and a half, turned out to be 7.5 hours. I come out all stapled up from sternum to nether regions, and it was a long recovery, basically. However, what's the good thing that's come out of this? So beforehand, and this is where maybe I'm going to put a big bet on, most of you can relate to this to some extent, that beforehand I was living, I was the king of procrastination town, basically. I was the king of going, I'll take that holiday next year, maybe when the conditions are right, or I've got a little bit more money, or I'll start doing that hobby later when I can, whatever, get the best equipment that I need for it, or when something else has changed. I was always waiting for something else to happen, which, funnily enough, never happened, and I just never got anything done. I never got to do what I wanted to do. Well, after this surgery, that changed like that, and I started doing things whenever I had the urge. I just lent into that, and I just did things. That means solo traveling, which I still find pretty daunting, but I do, and it fills me up. It really gives me this amazing fulfillment. And I booked a holiday to go to Iceland, and many more have come since. Ukraine and Poland and Romania and Argentina, and I've been to the Middle East. I've been quite a lot, and every time it's scary. But here is the really important thing for you guys, because something really unexpected happened with my anxiety, that I've been having very intense anxiety. I was diagnosed with anxiety disorder when I was like 7 or something. What happened is, you would probably think that, David, you've had this near-death experience, your anxiety is going to go through the roof. And funnily enough, no. The more I started leaning into these things that I really, really wanted to do and that fulfill me, my chronic anxiety was still up here, still high. And then my everyday anxiety, as I call it, was getting higher and higher because I'm forcing myself to do these uncomfortable things. New activities, new relationships, new travel, all of this. And what I realized with time is that the more my everyday anxiety was going up, the more my chronic anxiety was going down. And that's a good thing. It's not just replacing like for like, because the everyday anxiety is so much better than chronic anxiety, because you're anxious about doing something you're super excited about, and it's way more controllable. And with time, that everyday anxiety has come down. It's still kind of daunting to do some of these things, but you get used to it. So this is my theory, that the more you push yourself out of the comfort zone, which you've built up around yourself for this chronic anxiety, the more that goes down. So test my theory. If you push yourself outside of your chronic anxiety comfort zone, you push that everyday anxiety, the chronic anxiety is going to come down. So let me know in the comments what you think of that. Have you tried it? Will you try it? And let me know how you go.